Have you ever walked into a room and felt like you were not even there? Not hated, not attacked, just unseen. If you have ever felt weak, ignored, or left behind in life, this story is for you. Welcome to English Learning Radio. I'm John. And today, I want to tell you the story of a man who was ignored for years until one day he became impossible to ignore. Chapter 1. The Pain of Being Invisible. When he walked into the room, he said hello like he always did. No one looked up. One man kept scrolling on his phone. Another kept talking about something loud and stupid. He stood there for 1 second, then 2, then gave a small smile that did not reach his eyes. He moved to the side and sat down like a shadow sitting beside other shadows. This was his normal life. At work, people spoke over him. At home, nobody asked what he felt. In groups, his jokes died fast. His ideas arrived late, then disappeared. The worst part was not that people hated him. The worst part was that they did not notice him. He was not lazy. He was not cruel. He was not weak in the simple way people imagine. He was just tired, quiet, lost.
Somewhere under all that silence, a small fire still lived. He still fixed his shirt before meetings. He still wrote notes in the margin of old papers. He still looked at men with steady eyes and wondered what they knew that he did not. Then one evening, almost too small to matter, something happened. A paper cup slipped from his hand in the break room. Coffee spread across the floor. People sighed. He bent down quickly, ashamed, ready to whisper, sorry. But before he spoke, he heard a calm voice behind him say, "Take your time." He froze. For some reason, those 3 words felt different tonight. All night he kept hearing those 3 words, "Take your time." No one had spoken to him like that in a long while, not with pity, not with annoyance, just calm, just clear. It bothered him because it showed him something painful. He had been rushing through life like a man asking permission to exist. The next day, he watched the man who had said it. He was ordinary, average height, simple clothes, no rich watch, no loud voice. He was not the smartest person in the room. Still, when he spoke, people listened. When he paused, people waited. The room did not fear him. It moved around him. That confused him more than anything. He looked again, trying to find the secret. Looks? No. Money? No. Talent? Maybe a little, but not enough. Then he saw it. The man was present. He stood still. He looked at people when they talked. He did not shrink after speaking. He did not apologize for taking space. A quiet question rose inside him. What if the difference was not power, but practice? What if respect was not a gift from the world, but something built in private, one choice at a time? He felt almost foolish for never seeing it before. That evening he walked home slower than usual. The streets looked the same, but he did not. He knew only one thing. Tomorrow could not feel like yesterday. Something small had started, and he was afraid and hopeful. Chapter 2. The Slow Rebuild. He did not wake up the next morning as a new man. He woke up sleepy, stiff, and doubtful. For a few seconds, he almost returned to his old pattern. Then he sat up, put both feet on the floor, and made one tiny decision. He would keep one promise today, only one. So he made his bed. It looked unimportant. Nobody clapped. Nobody filmed a dramatic change. The room stayed quiet. But something inside him settled. After that, he cleaned his desk.
Then he stood a little straighter while brushing his teeth. On the bus, he stopped folding himself into a corner. At lunch, he said his order clearly. Small things, almost boring. Yet they felt strangely heavy, like stones building the first wall of a house. The hard part was this: nobody noticed. Life gave him no early reward. There was no deep movie voice saying he was transforming. There was only repetition. Wake up, straighten up, finish the task, speak clearly, do not rush, keep your word, then do it again. After a week, he still looked normal. After 2 weeks, he still felt awkward. After 3, he looked in the mirror and almost laughed, not because he looked powerful, but because he did not look away. He held his own eyes for one full breath, then another. Confidence, he realized, was not magic, it was proof. And proof was made by kept promises, one quiet day at a time, for himself alone. The first signs were so small that another person might miss them. A coworker asked for his opinion and waited for the answer. The cashier looked at him and said, "Go ahead," with respect instead of boredom. One friend stopped joking over his sentences and listened to the end. None of this was dramatic. That was why it mattered. Respect was not returning like thunder. It was returning like morning light, slow, quiet, real. He felt it in his body first. He stopped entering rooms as if he owed everyone an apology. He listened more carefully. He answered with fewer words, but stronger ones.
For a short time, he thought, maybe this is it. Maybe I am finally changing. Then the old wound opened again. In a meeting, he spoke up with a steady voice. A man across the table laughed and said, "Look at you, trying to sound important now." A few people smiled. His chest tightened. Heat rose in his face. The old version of him knocked on the door again, whispering, "See? Stay small. Hide." For one dangerous moment, he wanted to laugh with them, shrink down and disappear. But something had changed. He felt the fear, yet he stayed in his chair. He breathed once, then again. He did not speak fast. He only said, "I am speaking." The room went still. Now the real test had begun for him at last. Could one bad moment break weeks of quiet work completely? Chapter 3. Becoming Solid. He expected to shake after that meeting. He expected shame, regret, maybe even panic. Instead, he felt strangely calm. Not proud, not loud, just steady. For the first time, he understood something bigger than confidence. Being noticed was never the real goal. Becoming solid was. If people saw him, fine. If they did not, he still had to live with himself. That truth felt heavy, then freeing. Over the next days, his energy changed again. He stopped checking faces for approval. He stopped asking silent questions like, "Did I sound good enough? Do they accept me now?" He focused on simpler things. Stand straight. Speak the truth. Finish what you start. Keep your voice calm. Leave the room with self-respect. This made him quieter, but not smaller. He smiled less to please people and more because he felt clear inside. He laughed once with a deep, surprised chuckle when he noticed it. The day he stopped chasing attention was the day people started paying attention. It was almost funny. Almost. But the biggest proof was not in their eyes. It was in his. He could sit alone without feeling small. He could make a mistake without feeling broken. He no longer asked, "How do I make people value me?" He asked, "How do I live in a way that I can respect?" That question went deeper. It reached the root.
Now his change felt less like effort and more like identity growing strong within him. A week later, he walked into another room. It looked ordinary, almost boring. Cheap chairs, cold light, low voices. Yet it felt like the beginning of a different life. He said hello, the same way he had said it before. This time, people answered. One man nodded. Another moved aside to make room. A woman looked up and smiled. Nothing huge happened. No music exploded. No one declared him changed. Still, the moment landed softly in his chest. He had become impossible to ignore, not because he demanded attention, but because he no longer abandoned himself. And then came the truth that mattered most. Even if nobody had answered, he would still have stood tall. That was the real victory. The outside world was only the echo. The first voice he had changed was his own. Maybe you know this feeling. Maybe you have entered rooms and felt yourself disappear. Maybe you have smiled while your heart sighed. Maybe you think you are behind, weak, too late, too quiet. But listen carefully. A new life does not always begin with one loud moment. Sometimes it begins with a made bed, a steady breath, a clear sentence, a promise kept on an ordinary morning. So, if life has ignored you, do not let that become your identity. Build quietly, stand calmly, speak clearly, keep going. One day, the world may notice, but before that, you will notice yourself, and that is where real change begins for you today. If this story spoke to you, then do not leave this moment empty. Write this in the comments. I will not stay small. That one sentence matters because the life you repeat in words slowly becomes the life you live. And if you are here to improve your English and rebuild your mindset at the same time, welcome home. This is English Learning Radio. I'm John. If you want more simple English stories about confidence, discipline, life change, and becoming stronger from the inside, subscribe now and stay with us for the next one. Your English can grow. Your confidence can grow. Your life can change. And maybe your change starts today.